What if the subtle cues, seemingly innocent gestures, and common conversational tactics used every day aren't as harmless as they seem? What if skilled individuals, or even everyday acquaintances, are using psychological shortcuts to influence your decisions, control your emotions, and get what they want, often without you even realizing it? In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on 10 psychological tricks that make you surprisingly easy to manipulate, exposing the subtle methods of persuasion, the insidious tactics of control, and the hidden vulnerabilities in your own mind. From emotional leveraging to clever framing and even outright gaslighting, get ready to see how easily your thoughts and actions can be swayed. And trust me, the number one trick on this list is so pervasive, its exposure will make you question the authenticity of many interactions in your daily life. You're about to explore the fascinating intersection of social psychology, human behavior, and the dark arts of influence, pushing the boundaries of ethical persuasion. Can you imagine being showered with compliments and affection, only for it to be a calculated tactic to disarm you? Stick around, because I'm going to reveal how love bombing can be a dangerous manipulation technique. Before we uncover these hidden influences, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, share this with a friend who needs to sharpen their defenses, and if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on more eye-opening content from 360 World. And I want to hear from you. Which of these psychological tricks have you experienced, either as a target or an observer? Drop your insights in the comments below. 10. Love bombing, the overwhelming charm offensive. What if someone showers you with excessive compliments, grand gestures, and intense affection, making you feel incredibly special, but it's all part of a calculated plan to gain control over you? Imagine feeling swept off your feet, only to realize later that this overwhelming charm was a deliberate tactic to quickly build intimacy and trust, making you vulnerable. This isn't just romance. Love bombing is a manipulative tactic often used in the early stages of relationships to disarm you and create a strong, often dependent, bond before the manipulator reveals their true intentions. How does excessive charm turn sinister? Love bombing involves overwhelming a target with adoration, praise, gifts, and constant attention. This creates an intense emotional connection and a feeling of being uniquely understood and valued. The manipulator quickly establishes an idealized image, making the victim feel special and desired. This rapid intimacy builds trust, which the manipulator can then exploit. Once the target is hooked, the manipulator may gradually withdraw the affection, making the victim strive to regain that initial feeling, thus becoming more compliant. It's a powerful tool to quickly establish dominance and control by first making you feel utterly adored, an overwhelming flood of affection with a hidden hook. What does such intense flattery truly conceal? Let me know in the comments. And brace yourself, because our next trick preys on your sense of obligation. 9. The reciprocity principle, the unseen debt. Imagine receiving a small gift, a favor, or even just some free information, and then feeling an almost irresistible urge to return the gesture, even if you don't really want to? What if this seemingly harmless human tendency to reciprocate is a powerful psychological lever used to make you comply with requests you'd normally refuse? This isn't just good manners. The reciprocity principle states that humans are hardwired to repay what they've received, creating an unspoken obligation that can be cleverly exploited by manipulators and salespeople alike. How does a small favor create such a powerful debt? The reciprocity principle is a fundamental social norm. We feel compelled to return favors, gifts, or acts of kindness. Manipulators exploit this by offering something without being asked. This creates a sense of indebtedness in the target. The manipulator then makes a larger request, which the target feels obligated to fulfill, even if it goes against their own best interest. It's why free samples work so well, or why someone might offer help they didn't need, creating an invisible debt that can be called in later for a much bigger payoff. Your natural inclination to be fair can be used against you. A small gift, a huge unspoken obligation. What hidden strings are attached to seemingly free offerings? Don't go anywhere, because our next trick makes you question your own sanity. 8. Gaslighting. Distorting your reality. Have you ever been told that an event you distinctly remember never happened? That you're crazy for feeling a certain way, or that you're imagining things when you confront someone about their behavior? Imagine your own memories, perceptions, and even your sanity being systematically undermined by someone close to you, making you doubt your grip on reality. This isn't just disagreement. Gaslighting is an insidious form of psychological manipulation where the abuser intentionally makes the victim question their own memory, perception, and sanity, creating confusion and dependency. How does gaslighting slowly break down a person's mind? Gaslighting is a severe form of manipulation where the manipulator denies facts, twists events, or insists that the victim's memories are wrong, often saying things like, "That never happened," "You're imagining things," or "You're too sensitive." The goal is to destabilize the victim's sense of reality, making them doubt their own judgment and rely entirely on the manipulator's version of events. This gradually erodes the victim's self-confidence and ability to trust their own perceptions. Over time, the victim becomes increasingly confused, anxious, and dependent on the manipulator for their understanding of reality, making them easier to control. It's a terrifying psychological assault that warps the victim's very sense of self and the world around them. Your reality subtly twisted against you. What dangerous lies might someone be feeding your mind right now? Up next, a trick that plays on your fear of missing out. 7. Scarcity and urgency. The fear of missing out. What if you feel an intense pressure to make a decision quickly, to buy something now, or to agree to a deal, simply because you're told it's limited time only, or only a few left? Imagine the fear of missing out on a unique opportunity driving you to act impulsively without full consideration. This isn't just good marketing. The scarcity and urgency principles leverage your innate fear of loss and desire for unique things, creating a powerful psychological pressure that bypasses rational thought and pushes you towards immediate compliance. How do manipulators create this artificial pressure? The scarcity principle states that people value things more when they are scarce or limited. The urgency principle adds a time constraint, making the opportunity seem fleeting. Manipulators use phrases like limited stock, offer ends today, only X spots left, or exclusive invite to create a false sense of urgency and demand. This triggers the fear of missing out. This psychological pressure bypasses rational decision-making, as individuals feel they must act immediately to avoid losing a perceived valuable opportunity. It pushes people to make quick, often regretted, choices without adequate consideration, proving how powerfully the fear of loss can influence behavior. A ticking clock urging impulsive decisions. What opportunities are you rushing into without proper thought? Don't go anywhere, because our next trick makes you feel indebted. 6. Guilt tripping. The debt of emotion. Have you ever been made to feel overwhelmingly guilty for not doing something, even if you never agreed to it, or for expressing a valid need or boundary? Imagine someone reminding you of all they've done for you, or playing the victim to subtly coerce you into fulfilling their desires, making you feel like you owe them compliance. This isn't just expressing feelings. Guilt tripping is a manipulative tactic that preys on your empathy and sense of obligation, creating an emotional debt that makes you compliant and difficult to say no to. How does guilt become such a powerful weapon? Guilt tripping involves making someone feel responsible for the manipulator's feelings or problems, or for their supposed suffering. This can be done by playing the victim, reminding the target of past favors, or making subtle accusations of selfishness or unkindness. The manipulator shifts the burden of their own feelings or needs onto the target, leveraging the target's empathy and good nature. This creates a powerful emotional obligation, making the target feel immense pressure to comply with the manipulator's wishes to alleviate their own guilt. It's a common tactic that preys on our desire to be seen as good and caring individuals, turning our empathy into a tool for control. An invisible chain of guilt pulling you towards compliance. What emotional debts are subtly controlling your choices? Coming up next, a bizarre trick that makes you agree to big things by starting small. 5. Foot in the door technique. Small favors, big compliance. What if agreeing to a tiny, seemingly insignificant request makes you much more likely to agree to a much larger, more substantial request later on? Imagine being asked to sign a petition, then later being asked for a large donation, and feeling compelled to say yes, even if you're hesitant. This isn't just about consistency. The foot in the door technique is a powerful psychological phenomenon where securing initial compliance with a small request significantly increases the likelihood of compliance with a subsequent, larger request, a clever way to gain major influence through minor concessions. How does a small yes lead to a bigger one? The foot in the door technique works by capitalizing on our desire for self-consistency. Once you've agreed to a small request, you tend to see yourself as a compliant or helpful person, or as someone who supports that cause or individual. This internal self-perception then makes it more difficult to say no to a subsequent larger request, as doing so would contradict your newly established self-image. It's a common tactic used in sales, fundraising, and persuasion, where initial, low-cost commitments gradually lead to much larger ones. It proves how our need for internal consistency can be subtly manipulated to lead us down a path of increasing compliance, starting with the simplest of agreements. A tiny crack in the door, leading to wide-open compliance. What small agreements are subtly influencing your bigger decisions? Don't go anywhere, because our next trick involves withdrawing affection. 4. The silent treatment. Punishment through absence. What if someone suddenly withdraws communication, affection, or even their presence as a form of punishment, leaving you feeling isolated, confused, and desperate for their attention? Imagine being ignored, dismissed, or given the cold shoulder as a manipulative tactic to make you comply or apologize, even if you're not sure what you did wrong. This isn't just quiet time. The silent treatment is a passive-aggressive manipulation tactic that uses the withholding of communication and affection as a form of emotional punishment, creating immense distress and coercing compliance through isolation. How does silence become such a powerful weapon? The silent treatment is a form of emotional abuse and manipulation where the manipulator deliberately ignores, refuses to communicate, or withdraws affection from the target. This creates immense psychological distress for the victim, who often feels confused, anxious, and desperate for reconnection. Humans are social beings and crave connection. The withholding of attention can be a powerful form of punishment. The manipulator uses this to control the target's behavior, making them feel guilty, apologize, or comply with demands to end the painful silence, even if the punishment is disproportionate to the perceived offense. It's a passive-aggressive, yet highly effective way to assert control and make the target prioritize the manipulator's desires over their own needs or boundaries. Silence as a weapon, creating desperate pleas for attention. What unspoken demands are controlling your interactions? Now, prepare for the top 3, which delve into the most insidious and profound psychological manipulations. The next one plays on your desire to fit in. 3. Social proof and bandwagon effect. Following the crowd. Could you be unconsciously swayed to believe something, buy something, or do something simply because you perceive that everyone else is doing it? Imagine seeing a product advertised as a bestseller or hearing that a belief is widely accepted and feeling an almost irresistible urge to conform, even without independent verification. This isn't just popularity. Social proof and the bandwagon effect are powerful psychological principles that leverage our innate desire to belong and to make safe choices, making us highly susceptible to manipulation by appearing to follow the crowd. How does everyone else is doing it become such a strong influence? Social proof is the phenomenon where people assume the actions of others reflect the correct behavior for a given situation. The bandwagon effect is a psychological bias where people do or believe things because many other people do or believe the same. Manipulators use this by highlighting popularity, testimonials, or large numbers of followers to create an illusion of consensus or widespread acceptance. This triggers our conformity bias, making us feel that if so many others are doing it, it must be the right or best thing to do. It's a highly effective persuasion tactic in marketing, politics, and social influence, preying on our natural desire to fit in and to avoid being the odd one out, often leading us to adopt beliefs or behaviors without critical thought. Everyone's doing it, so you should too. What popular trends or beliefs are you following without questioning? Up next, a chilling trick that targets your deepest fears and hopes. 2. Emotional blackmail. Leveraging your fears and affection. What if someone close to you threatens to punish you, withdraw their love, or cause themselves harm if you don't comply with their demands, making you feel trapped and terrified? Imagine being held hostage by another person's emotional state, forced to make decisions against your will out of fear of their reaction or loss. This isn't just strong emotion. Emotional blackmail is a highly coercive and manipulative tactic that uses threats to punish the target emotionally, financially, or socially if they don't give in, leveraging fear, obligation, and guilt to control behavior. How does someone turn your emotions into chains? Emotional blackmail is a manipulative strategy where the blackmailer uses various tactics to control the target's behavior. The blackmailer makes it clear that if the target doesn't comply, there will be negative consequences for them or the relationship. This preys on the target's deep emotional bonds, fear of loss, guilt, and a sense of obligation. The victim often feels trapped, believing they must give in to prevent negative outcomes, even if it means sacrificing their own needs, boundaries, or well-being. It's a particularly insidious form of manipulation because it often happens within close relationships where there's already a high level of trust and emotional investment, turning affection into a tool of control. Threats disguised as love, controlling your every move. What hidden fears are subtly dictating your choices? And now, for the #1 psychological trick that's so ubiquitous, it fundamentally shapes your perception of reality. This is the one that changes everything. 1. Framing, shaping your reality through language. What if the way information is presented to you, the specific words chosen, or the context provided, subtly dictates how you interpret that information, making you accept a particular viewpoint without even realizing you're being influenced? Imagine being told a product is 90% fat-free instead of 10% fat, and suddenly it seems much healthier, even though it's the exact same product. This isn't just marketing. Framing is a fundamental psychological phenomenon where the presentation of information profoundly impacts how it is perceived, understood, and acted upon, making it the most pervasive and powerful tool of manipulation in communication. How does language subtly control your thoughts? Framing is the way information is presented, OFTE, and highlighting certain aspects while downplaying others to influence how an audience perceives an issue. It leverages cognitive biases to subtly steer your interpretation and decision-making. Examples include focusing on gain versus loss, using emotionally loaded language, or setting a specific context for information. For instance, a political issue can be framed as a matter of freedom or security, leading people to different conclusions based on the framing rather than the core facts. Because it works by shaping your initial perception, often unconsciously, it's incredibly powerful and difficult to resist, proving how subtle linguistic choices can profoundly manipulate our understanding of reality. Your reality, subtly shaped by words. It's the ultimate invisible influence, isn't it? If these psychological tricks that make you easy to manipulate left you speechless, then you absolutely have to check out our next video right here, where we explore even more bizarre human behaviors that defy explanation. You won't want to miss it. And remember, if you only scrolled to the end of this video, You missed out on the chilling reality of love bombing and the insidious nature of gaslighting. Definitely go back and watch those parts. Before you go, hit that like button one last time. Share this video with anyone who wants to sharpen their defenses against manipulation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join the 360 World community, and let's keep uncovering the world's most profound and unsettling secrets together. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and keep an eye out for those subtle influences.